What's going on, guys? It's PokePond back with another video for you. We've got a massive episode today where we're going to go through every single Scarlet and Violet set. We're going to do a massive price analysis on everything. I'm going to tell you what points I would buy in at if it was my money, what my price targets are, the predictions going forward, and then we're going to go back through all of Sword and Shield. We're going to make some massive predictions today. Make sure you subscribe down below to never miss an opportunity. Let's get into it. Straight into business today. The topic that's on everybody's tongue at the moment is Destined Rivals. Obviously, since the last video, we had the release of Destined Rivals that came out Friday. It's overwhelmingly gone down as a fan favourite set. We kind of knew it was going to anyway, and we're starting to see prices come down on it, which is a really positive thing after the release. So we're seeing like average prices on TCG Player of like 252 for the booster box. Last Soul's 259, 255, 240. These are obviously going for about 300 plus on pre-sale. It's quite funny because over here in the UK I was sort of monitoring a few sites, and as we got closer to the release, the pre-sale the people selling the pre-sale booster boxes, like the reserves on eBay, ones with allocations confirmed, just got lower and lower and lower every day coming up to the release. The price just kept dropping and dropping and dropping. Same with the Elite Trainer box as well, because some people were asking crazy money for the pre-order on the Elite Trainer box, like way more than it should be, and I was just seeing it drop and drop and drop in price. In the UK here, it was like started off at like £100 for the Elite Trainer box, which is £100 is like $135, and you just saw it slowly reduce down in price day by day by day as we got closer to Friday, and then now I think the price isn't too bad at all. Do I expect to see Destined Rivals come down in price further? Yes. Now, a lot of people said it wouldn't happen because it's such a hype set and stuff like that. So we're seeing 252 now for the box. I think we're going to see prices closer to $200. I really do think that. Maybe we won't hit $200, or if we do hit $200, it's going to be for a couple of sales and then it's going to bounce back up to like 210, 220. I think 210, 220 is going to be its sort of established range once it's settled down. I always say that the best time to buy into a set, if you want to go off on averages for when the cheapest time to buy into a set is, around about the release, is usually about 8 weeks after release, and that completely varies set to set, but that's just a general average of when things have settled down a little bit. And you tend to find that's when the people who have got really like weak hands with holding products, so your real scalpers, start to dump whatever they've got left. That's usually about 8 weeks in. Now, I'm not saying in 8 weeks time it's going to be cheaper than 260 right now, but there's a good chance it will be. So if you really want to buy into this set, especially if you want it as part of your collection, me myself, I'm also a collector as well as an investor as well, so it's not always about the money. Sometimes I just want something in my collection as well, and Destined Rivals booster box is one of those. I have bought one already. I actually got hooked up by a subscriber, so thank you to you if you are watching this one. And yeah, basically, if you want to buy into it now. I don't think it's really worth timing the market that much if you're planning to hold it for the long term, because at most I think you might get 20-30 bucks off if you wait another 8 weeks or so to buy into it, but you also run the risk that the price isn't going to come down that much either. I think there is a good chance, but we'll just have to wait and see. No one really knows, but I do expect to see at least a little bit of a reduction in price for Destined Rivals over the next couple of weeks. Last sold in the US is 250 bucks. As I said, a little bit cheaper than the pre-orders, and this is all stuff in hand now. People actually have the product in hand, so you can inspect it and see if it's got a nice tight seal. Without going too far into this auction and clicking into it, that actually looks like quite a minty box with a nice seal. I would always recommend that if you're willing to hold for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, spend a little bit of extra money. Spend the extra 10 bucks, 15 bucks on getting one that's really, really minty, one that you can see the pictures on. Personally, I don't buy from ads like this that just have a generic photo. I would much rather click on it like this. This is one that's sold, obviously, and really just inspect the seal. I might talk to the person as well, and you can see this box is just really well presented, real nice tight seal, which is what we want to see as well. And it's worth it. It's worth the extra $10, $15, because in the grand scheme of things, if you're holding it for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years plus, that extra $10 is going to mean nothing to you when it's 2x, 3x, 4x in price. And I think that Destined Rivals is set to have that kind of price range. Last sold in the UK here, £209. Retail on this, I think, is £156. So we're talking about 50, 60 quid over retail, 55 quid over retail price, which is what, like nearly 30%, 29.5%, something like that. So it is quite pricey. It is such a hype set, though. I think it will continue to do well. I think that price point for buying into it, like if you really want to get one and you really want to time the market, I think that anything sort of around about the $220 range, pick it up. I think in the UK, if you see anything sub £200, like I said, if you're going to have it for the long haul, I think anything sub £200 is a decent buy. Like I said, you may get it a little bit cheaper if you hold out. You may get it for 190, 195. I'm talking in pounds here, not dollars. Then great, but you know, you're really going to have to be stalking these auctions and make sure that you're really narrowing in on not missing out on those opportunities when they flash up, because they won't last for long prices like that. I think anything sub 200 is going to get eaten up by the market. If you're new to the channel, I compare sealed product prices in both the US and the UK. Although I'm predominantly based in the UK, we compare everything, so there's something for everyone on this channel. We look at the whole global market, and that can help us to predict trends in the other market and what's going on, because we can see a bigger global picture of what's going on with supply and demand, because quite often we have different supply levels to you, different demand levels to you, and we can kind of learn from that and make some accurate predictions. And it's been going pretty well. If we look back through the channel through the last 18 months or so, you can see that a lot of my predictions have been pretty bang on. I'm actually quite shocked at how accurate they are. I mean, I always use data points. The data doesn't lie, effectively. Past performance doesn't always predict future results. That's really important to understand. We are all putting money into shiny cardboard at the end of the day. However, if you use data points, use trends, use videos like mine to give you a proper data analysis rather than an emotional opinion, then you have the best shot at succeeding. Let's talk about Prismatic Evolutions. Prismatic Evolutions is continuing to tumble down in price to some more realistic price figures. We've been calling this coming out for a long time. Last sales are 110, 113, 114. I think we are going to see a $100 booster, $100 Elite Trainer box really soon for Prismatic Evolutions. And again, I don't think it's going to last for long around that $100 mark. It might last for a day, it might last for 2 months, but I think when you're zooming out and looking at the long-term things, like I said, holding 2, 3, 4, 5 years, which I always recommend, then it's not a bad time to buy in now for 110, because there's no way in my eyes that if we look back in 3 years time, that's not going to be 2x, 3x. That's not going to be a $200, $300 Elite Trainer box. There is the slight possibility that they just print Prismatic Evolutions into the ground, but I still don't think it's going to hurt it that much. I still think even then, if you put on enough time in the market for a load of those to get cracked, it's still going to be way over $110 in a couple of years time. And that's what you really need to look at with these products, is you need to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Okay, you might not become a millionaire overnight buying Prismatic Evolutions at 110. However, if you're going to hold it for a couple of years, there's a very, very strong chance it's going to be worth more than what it is now, especially when it goes out of print. And that's what it's all about, really. Last sold in the US, there you go, 105. And that's when I buy it now as well. You don't even have to pay attention to an auction. You can just log on and buy for 105. So we're really close to that $100 price point. I think the absolute bottom basement price of it is going to be around about $85-90. Is going to be the lowest it's ever going to sell, and like I said, that's going to be 1-2 sales, something like that, and then it's just going to bounce back up to $90 or something like that. If it's really printed into the ground, potentially you could see retail price, but I don't see it happening, to be honest, especially with the Elite Trainer box. The Elite Trainer box is so hard for them to put together. Perhaps they might do mass reprints on the booster bundles, but I think the Elite Trainer box, even if they do get continual waves and more reprints, I don't think it's going to be enough to shift the price that much. Like I said, anything sub $100 over the next sort of 6 months, I would move in on it personally. If you want prismatic evolutions in your collection, that is. Last sold in the UK here, £109. So we're actually way more higher price than you. So £109 is about $140, something like that off the top of my head. So you can see we're paying like $140 for it at the moment. You're paying $105. So it just shows how there's different demand and supply levels from across the pond. That's kind of why I'm called PokePond, because I'm comparing markets from across the pond. If none of you had worked that out yet, let's have a look at Journey Together then. Journey Together, this chart seems to have just broken on TCG Play. I don't know why. It's put the price down to 0 and said none have sold. It's only got price points up to the 19th of May, which is really weird. But then when we actually look on the last sold chart, we're seeing that last sold is around about $210. I think that Journey Together is going to drop down even further. It's going to go sub $200 a box. Basically, all Scarlet and Violet right now is $200 plus. I think Journey Together is going to be the first box that's going to drop below $200. I think that's going to be fairly temporary. I think it's only going to last for, I don't know, 4 to 8 weeks under $200 and then bounce back up to around about this 2 to 210 range. I think that that's a good range for where the hobby is at the moment. And something to bear in mind is that Journey Together is not the worst set of Scarlet and Violet. And if Journey Together does drop below $200 and it is the cheapest set, then that is a play. Now, you might not want to put Journey Together into your portfolio or into your collection, but it's definitely a play, and it's a strong play. I think anything sub $200 on Journey Together is going to be a good play. It could even drop as low as like 180, 170, something like that. It just depends how much focus other people's attention is on other things. If they print a lot of Journey Together and they get this wrong, then you will see it sit around on shelves and you will see a really good opportunity to move into it. Hey, if you pick this up for like 190 in a couple of weeks and then it drops even further to 180, 170, you still don't lose at 190, because there's no way that Journey Together doesn't bounce back to over 200 a box if you give it enough time. If you give it a year, 2 years, it probably won't even take that long. It will probably just take 6 months, 8 months, 9 months for that stock that's sat on the shelf to disappear again. And then people realise, oh, Journey Together's easily the cheapest set that's around because it's sat. And oh, look, it's actually not that bad of a set. It's not the worst set out there. I'm not a huge fan of Journey Together, but it's certainly not the worst set out there, in my opinion. And I'm not going to name what I think the worst set is out there for Scarlet and Violet, because people get really mad when I do, because you can't appease everyone. Everyone has their own favourite sets. And if I say one set is absolute garbage, absolute trash, like I have done in the past, I'm going to offend someone. So I'm going to try and not offend anyone. But like I said, Journey Together is not a bad set. But I do think prices are going to drop down a little bit more. $213 for the enhanced version. There are rumours that future reprints won't have the box topper, so they won't have this red strip on it, which is the enhanced version. That's going to make these enhanced ones potentially another sort of premium on top, and they could become very expensive. In fact, where that's the only set at the moment in Scarlet and Violet that's done that, where they've got 2 variants of the booster box, if this becomes rarer, where they stop making the enhanced version, this could become the most valuable booster box. Not the non-enhanced one without the box topper. If these box toppers stop getting made and this just becomes like a collector's premium. We could see similar to what we see with the sort of like stamped Pokemon Center versions of the Elite Trainer boxes, a similar thing where this just charges an extra premium. So again, that's a possible play that's going to be coming forward. If you're new to the channel, if I see a play, I'm going to let you know about it. I'm not going to keep it all to myself. I'm very transparent about what I'm buying as well. I'm not saying that's necessarily going to be a play, but it's got potential, so I'm going to tell you guys about it. And make sure you subscribe down below to never miss an opportunity. There we go. We squeezed in the tagline as well. Cheapest in the UK right now, or last sold, is 154. That's actually sub retail. I know it's not the enhanced version, it's the normal version. Bear in mind, right, even though Pokemon Center in the UK sells stuff for like 142, that's the old retail price for Sword and Shield. Recommended retail price, or MSRP, in the UK is £156. This is sub retail, guys, for Journey Together. That's kind of crazy, especially when in the US, I know this is the enhanced version, but still, the non-enhanced version's going for more than retail in the US as well. Let's try and find one. How much is it actually going for in the US? I can't even find one non-enhanced, to be honest. There's one for 190 that went a couple of days ago for enhanced. It seems like, yeah, the US market is just completely flooded with the box topper ones. But hey, there you go. Sub-retail Journey Together. It's definitely a play. I've got some on the shelf behind me there. I can't actually see where I'm pointing. Hang on. There is some Journey Together on that shelf somewhere. I think that's a booster box of it there. I've got half of it somewhere around about there as well. But there we go. Journey Together, not the worst set. Can pick it up pretty cheap now, and I think it's going to get even cheaper if you're in the US. Surging Sparks, similar situation, tumbling down in price. When it was at around about this point, and it started to drop down in price when we were around about end of March sort of time, and it was like 250, that kind of price, I said it was going to tumble down in price. People didn't believe me. Now we're seeing that. We're seeing it really come back down to earth. Last sold 222. Last week the average, let's see, was like 224. So not a massive drop down in price, but it's just continually falling week on week on week. And that's what we like to see. I think we're going to see a very similar situation to Journey Together. I think we're going to see sub 200 boxes, but I think that sub 200 box is only going to be for a very short amount of time. $200, anything around that point is a good buy-in point. If you don't want to miss out at all, then buy in now for $220 by all means, as long as you're prepared to sit on it for a couple of years. I think you'll do very well out of it. Again, if it drops to around about that $200 range and it's sort of rivaling Journey Together as the cheapest box on the market right now, again, Surging Sparks is not the worst set out there. So if it's the lowest in price, that's a play. That is an opportunity, and that's the kind of opportunity that will help you beat the scalpers. Okay, scalpers will not buy into a product unless they see it in the wild. Because if they see it in the wild for retail, Surging Sparks, that's a no-brainer. They know they can sell it for more. They know they can sell it for $220. Okay, but they will not buy it from the secondary market if it's doing this on the charts. It's down 16% over the last 3 months. Okay, this is how you beat scalpers. You beat scalpers by buying stuff on the secondary market that you know is a strong set and it's falling in price. Scalpers want to avoid catching a falling knife. That's what it's called in the stock market. It's the idea that it's falling down in price, and if you buy it now, it's just going to fall further and you're going to eat more of a loss. Scalpers aren't in it for the long haul. If you buy into it now for $220, that's not bad. Like I said, hold on to it for a couple of years. I'm almost certain it's going to be worth more than that going forward. Surging Sparks is a really decent set. It's a fan favorite as well. I think that it's really going to have a good run up in price once it starts going out of print. give it a little bit of time, give it a couple of years. I think it's really going to start pumping up in price. It could be, I think it's almost definitely going to be top 5 sets of Scarlet and Violet, if not top 3. But we just got to wait and see what the last sets of Scarlet and Violet are to really get the rankings of where things are going to be. Last sold in the US, $235. Like I said, it's going to drop down a little bit more, but not that much. I think that if you're really trying to get in at the lowest price point, its basement price is going to be like $200. Because if anyone sees it for $200 and it's not like sitting on shelves anywhere, it's just going to get eaten up. Because then it's just going to be the cheapest set, and people who are in the know are just going to be like, well, that's cheap for $200. Everything is about perceived value, okay? Something is worth what people will pay for it. And I'm telling you now, people will pay $200 for a Surgeon Sparks booster box. The only thing that's going to change that is if there's loads sat on big box shelves. Let's have a look at last sale in the UK right now then. £198. That's quite a premium compared to what it is in the US right now. So £198 is like $265, $270, something like that. $265. At a guess off the top of my head. I know I'm close. You can Google and fact check me if you want, but I know I'm close on that. About $260, whereas what you're actually paying is like $235. So you're actually already getting it a bit cheaper than we are here in the UK. Let's have a look at Pokemon Center then, because everything that I've talked about now is what I class as ultra modern. That's everything in the danger zone for getting massive reprints. And everything that we're going to talk about next is either less likely to get reprinted or have less impact on a reprint. And then as the episode goes on, we'll go more and more into Sword and Shield, into the deeper stuff, the stuff that's way out of print, and the bigger plays, the more expensive boxes, etc. Let's have a look then at Pokemon Center US, completely sold out as it has been for the last few weeks. Every single product with a booster pack sold out. And if we look on the Elite Trainer box section as well, I don't know why they put this in a separate section. It's stupid in my opinion. Just put all of the boxes together. Elite Trainer box section also as well, completely sold out on everything. No surprise there. We are in a crazy part of the hype cycle of Pokemon at the moment. In the UK right now, we still have Paradox Rift and Temporal Forces boxes available for retail. Both good buys. I think Temporal is the better buy, in my opinion, than Paradox Rift. And like I said, remember guys, this is sub-retail that they're selling this for. And this is direct from source. This is direct from Pokemon. 143. Retail on that is 156. Sub-retail product. The US would go mad. If these two restocked tomorrow on Pokemon Center US, they would get bought up so quickly. If you're in the UK, don't sleep on this. This is part of the problem in the hobby. I've talked about it a lot in my videos, that people get way too distracted on what they can't buy than what's right in front of them that they can buy. Yeah, Paradox Rift and Temporal Forces haven't gone up in value almost at all in the UK yet because you can buy it for retail. But we've seen this time and time and time again with sets. I'm not saying they're the best sets in the series, but this is sub-retail, guys. If you look at everything out of stock in the US, the cheapest booster box is $200. It's just a no-brainer to me that to pick these up. I personally don't have any Paradox Rift, but I do have quite a lot of Temporal Forces. I personally just don't really like Paradox Rift, and as I said, I'm partly a collector as well, so it's not all about the money for me, and I just don't really care about having any Paradox Rift in my collection. I've got plenty of other sets. Shrouded Fable is also available as well for £23 for a little booster bundle. Not a bad pickup, but just not that much of a desirable set, and I think it's going to take a long time for that to go up in price as well. And you can also get some loose packs if you want to open them for retail price here of Paradox Rift and Temporal Forces. Let's have a look then at 151. 151 is in that weird stage right now where I'm starting to move into it more. I've been buying booster bundles rather than Elite Trainer box, just because the booster bundles are a much better pack to cost ratio. It's at a weird point, I say, because we're really not sure if we're going to see more waves of 151, and if we do, how much that's going to be. The price on the Elite Trainer box is kind of crazy. It's dropped down in value a little bit from its all-time high, but last sold 225, 234, 224. It's kind of a bit all over the place. I think that if we are going to see big reprints, it's mainly going to be on the booster bundles rather than the Elite Trainer boxes. Last sold on the Elite Trainer box is 220, and last sold in the UK is 220 as well, with the Pokemon Center exclusive version going now for £363. That's kind of mad. It's definitely a play, Pokemon Center Elite Trainer boxes. It's not a play I would make personally. There are certain YouTubers out there in this same investment niche that swear by buying Pokemon Center Elite Trainer boxes. The one thing I will warn to you is these people will stop talking very quickly if that stops becoming a play. And I'm telling you now that if the market takes a turn and the hype goes away, like it will eventually, and it always does, we've been through many cycles here in our journey. We've been doing this nearly 10 years now. Pokemon Center exclusive Elite Trainer boxes are going to be one of the first ones not to drop in value, but to drop in demand. People will buy these less for £363 if the market starts taking a turn. They will move their money into safer products, and I always say booster boxes are king. They are king for a reason, because they are the most in demand product. The whole market trades on supply and demand. So if you really want to be safe putting your money away into products, you put it into booster boxes, or on holiday sets like 151, you put it into the Elite Trainer box or the booster bundle. I think the booster bundle is even safer just because you've got such a better pack to cost ratio. Let's talk about Paldea and Fates then. Paldea and Fates, I don't talk about it much on the channel, but me personally, it's one of my favourite sets. It's again another holiday set from Scarlet and Violet. The reason why I don't talk about it much is because it's a really short printed set in the grand scheme of things. It sat around for a little bit, the booster bundles, when it was on release here in the UK. I'm not quite sure how it did in the US, whether it sat around as well. But Paldea and Fates, it has two of the best cards in the whole of Scarlet and Violet in my opinion, which is the Charizard and the Bubble Mew. Paldea and Fates was short printed. There wasn't enough of it on the market, and that's why we're seeing crazy increases in price on the Elite Trainer box. It's again in that window where you would expect to see reprints of it, and I've been holding out on reprints for it, and that's why I haven't been talking about it much, because I was hoping that it would get reprinted, and I really didn't want to talk about it too much because it was such an inflated price so early that I didn't want people to get stung and buy into it, and then it got mass reprinted, and then loads of people lose out on money. So I have to be really careful about what I talk about, because whether I say buy it or not, me just talking about it, some of you viewers are going to just buy into it. And the whole goal of this channel is to try and help you not lose money. Or an even better way to explain it is to gain more money. Gain more money is the goal, but I'll settle for losing less money as an absolute least. Paldea and Fates, like I said, absolutely fantastic set. I should talk about it more. It should get more reprints, but it just hasn't seen them. The price just continues to go up. $135, $148. It's up 25% over the last 3 months. 6 months, it's up 114%. Kind of crazy. Last sold in the US, $130. That's nuts, guys. Like, let's just compare this for a little bit to Crown Zenith. Okay, Crown Zenith, out of print. A few weeks ago, it was $130. It's more now, Crown Zenith, but not much more now. I think people are starting to FOMO in. Look, here's one going for $140. Pokemon Center exclusive version going for $265. I think people are starting to make plays on it, thinking it's never going to get that reprint. And I tell you what, if it does never get that reprint of that Elite Trainer box is going to go crazy. And the fact that it's climbing up in price so much right now, when it's not that old of a set and it's short printed, just kind of shows you what will happen when it is out of print. Because we're kind of seeing that mini scenario now. You can't get your hands on it now, and it's accelerating up in price. And that's exactly what's going to happen when it's out of print. When it's out of print, you're not going to be able to get any more of it. So we're kind of getting like an early snapshot of what Shining Fates is going to do when it's out of print. I think that it would be brilliant if they did a mass reprint on it. I think it's dangerous to buy into it now because it was short printed. But if they do never reprint it, then it's just going to continue going up and up and up and up. So it's a very risky play, but I do love it as a set. I own now one Elite Trainer box. I owned a couple of them beforehand, but I sold them recently just because I do expect the price to come down and there to be reprints, but you just don't know. Last sold in the UK here, £120. That's gone up quite a bit. I sold mine for £105 like about a month ago. Here's one going for £97 with a read description, so maybe it has some damage or something like that. But yeah, 120 is the highest I've seen it sell for a while. And look at this, Pokemon Center exclusive version, only going for 30 quid more. But again, might be a play, the Pokemon Center exclusive version, not a play I would make, but I'll always let you guys know. Let's talk about Twilight Masquerade then. Twilight Masquerade is one of my sets that I've got picked to have a massive run up in price over the next year to 2 years. It's smashed through its all-time high recently over the last few weeks. Last week it was averaging $239. This week $244 last sold, so about $5 up, 2% rise. It's just one of those things. It's a creeper set. It's just creeping and creeping and creeping. It's at its all-time high. It's just continuing to be a little slow burner and just run up in price a little bit. I like sets doing that. I like to see steady, consistent growth rather than crazy volatile growth. Crazy volatile growth is dangerous because it can bounce back down again. It could be price manipulation. That could be some whale moving in and just buying out all of the stock on TCG Player and eBay and stuff like that. Whereas this is just solid growth over the last 6 months. 55% growth over the last 6 months. Over the last year, it's up 126%. Twilight Masquerade is an iconic set. You've got the big Chase Greninja card. I don't know what more you want really. Like, it's just a solid banger set that you can still pick up for a fairly decent price. $244 for the full booster box. 225 last sold on eBay US, 170 with postage, so like 175 in the UK. That's the most I've seen it go for a little while, to be honest. So that has gone up quite significantly here in the UK. But you can still get bargains. You can still pick them up for around about 160, 165 if you're lucky. But like I said, it's a slow burner. And if it just continues doing that week on week, week on week, it's not going to be long before it's like a 260, 270, 280 box, and then you're bordering on the $300 range. I think it could happen fairly quickly for Twilight Masquerade, and who knows, you could see an aggressive move into it over the next 6 months and a load of them get bought out. I think now is a good time to buy into Twilight Masquerade. I think the best time to move into Twilight Masquerade was like 10 weeks ago, but the second best time to move into Twilight Masquerade is now. So you might have to settle for second best. Temporal Forces, like we were talking about, available for sub-retail from the Pokemon Center in the UK. It's absolute madness because you can see what happened here in the US. In the US, it's up 20% over the last 3 months. Last sold 217, 222, way over retail. So we can really learn from what happened in the US market, and I do really think that once it goes out of stock in the UK, which it will eventually, it might take a couple of weeks, it might take a couple of months. Oh gosh, I'm getting deja vu from talking about Fusion Strike. We said the same thing for Fusion Strike basically for Pokemon Center UK for like 6 months solid. For like 6 months solid on this channel, we were like, Fusion Strike for retail, buy it, buy it, buy it. And every week it was still in stock for like 6 months. So I was like, buy it, it's going out of stock soon, buy it, buy it. It's a great set, it's a great set. And a lot of you listened to me, a lot of you didn't. And then you all know what happened to Fusion Strike. I'm not saying Temporal Forces is Fusion Strike. Excuse me for my voice cracking a little bit. It's not Fusion Strike at all. It will perform well, I think, over the next couple of years, but it is not Fusion Strike. It won't have the massive run up in price that Fusion Strike will, but it is a good buy, especially if you're in the UK. If you're in the US, I don't know. It's quite risky because it could get reprints. I mean, it is getting up there in age. I don't know. It's a tough one to say whether I would buy into Temporal Forces if I was in the US for 220. I don't think it's really going to drop down in price, so it could be a good slow burner, especially to diversify your portfolio a little bit. I prefer it to Paradox Rift personally, but Paradox Rift is in a very similar situation as well. Paradox Rift at an all-time high here, around about $211. Last sale 201. I'm not sure if that makes Paradox Rift the cheapest set. That could potentially make Paradox Rift the cheapest set available in the US right now. I'm going to say this carefully, I do think it's the worst set in Scarlet and Violet right now. Don't roast me in the comment section. I know some of you love Paradox Rift. It does have cool artworks, I give you that. I think it's going to be the worst performing set out of all of them. And that's saying a lot, because there's some pretty bad set. Okay. Worst mainline set. I take that back. Shrouded Fable is the worst set. And I know some of you are going to argue, yeah, but what about Stellar Crown or Obsidian Flames or blah, blah, blah. I get it, okay? We all have different opinions. It's just my opinion. But Paradox Rift at an all-time high. It's been out of stock for a little while in the US. It's gone up 17% over the last 3 months. Over the last 6 months, it's up 70%. I don't think you lose if you buy it for this price. If you like it, fine, buy in for $200. I think $200 is a solid price for it. I just personally would put my money into something else, but that's all on you. Paldea Evolved. Paldea Evolved is another one of my top picks for sets that are going to do really well. We've been saying this for a little while. Full transparency, when Paldea Evolved first came out, when we were at the early stages of this channel, I didn't like it. But like I said, I don't trade on emotions. I trade on data. Once we saw the data, look at that chart, up 125%, steady growth as well. It's really popular. That's why I've bought into it a lot. We've bought into it a lot over the last 6 months. It is set to become one of the top 3 sets of Scarlet and Violet, and we're really starting to see it with the big run up in price that we've had recently on it. Last sold, well, hang on, average price $293 last week. Last sold $299. We're in that similar situation, right, where Brilliant Stars and Silver Tempest had about a month, 2 months ago, where they're struggling to go through that $300 psychological price point. The mad thing is, Brilliant Stars and Silver Tempest were sub 300 a couple of months ago. Now Paldea Evolved is already at that point, and it's already pushing that $300 mark. That speaks volumes, and I think it doesn't just speak out about Paldea Evolved and how good Paldea Evolved will be going forward and how strong of a set it is with the demand behind it, but it also speaks out about Scarlet and Violet in general. Okay, I never would have thought at the start of Scarlet and Violet that I would be saying this now, but looking at the way the data is going right now, I think that Scarlet and Violet as a whole, if you average out all the sets, are going to outpace and outperform Sword and Shield the entire era if you give it enough time. Okay, it's not out of print yet. Nothing in Scarlet and Violet is technically out of print. I think it's very unlikely we'll see more like of the early sets, like the base set. I think reprints of Paradox and Temporal are quite unlikely. I think Paldea, even if it does get more reprints, it's going to be not that much. Twilight Masquerade is getting to that stage now where it's getting up there in age a bit as well. I just think that Paldea Evolved is going to be a monster, and it's going to start pulling ahead real soon in the era. Last sold in the US $310. I don't know what this one is all about, right? Look at this. So $310 last sold on an auction, one bid. Look at this one, $195. That's way under market. It says it was a new listing as well. So someone literally posted this up for 195. I don't know if they made a mistake or not, and it just got bought out instantly. So you can tell when something got bought out instantly because it still has the new listing tag on it. Someone just sniped that. If you got that, I hope that the deal went through and they actually sent it to you for that and it's legit and there's no damage to it. But that is nuts. You got a crazy snipe on that, whoever got that. Hopefully you're watching. Kudos to you. But last sold 310, sale before that that's a proper one 275, and that's still a big jump up in price. So those are 2 days apart, the 275 to the 310. We're ignoring this 195 because that's just crazy. I don't even think that would have gone through. So we're seeing a $35 swing on that over the same day. So let's just have a look. So $35 on 275. That's a 12% swing between two sales over probably less than 24 hours. That's kind of nuts, guys. And that tells you that people are starting to put their money into Paldea Evolved. Well, people have been putting their money into Paldea Evolved for a while. But what this tells you is more people are. And the demand is going up and up and up for Paldea. I think we're going to see a massive run up in price on it. And it's just kind of nuts that it's already rivaling what Brilliant Stars and Silver Tempest that are out of print were doing a month or two ago. It's already at that price point. It's just kind of nuts, and it's just continuing to grow. Last sold in the UK 239. Again, that's quite a massive run up in price over the last month or so. Let's talk about Scarlet and Violet base set then. Normally I don't talk about Scarlet and Violet base set, but I'm pretty sure up to this point I've talked about every single Scarlet and Violet set, which I don't normally do. I don't normally go into every set and all the holiday sets. Tell me if I've missed one out, but off the top of my head, this is now every single Scarlet and Violet set out now that I've talked about in this video at an all-time high. So it is a play, definitely. Like I've said in previous videos, base sets are a little bit less desirable, but then as time goes on, they have the opportunity to really start spiking up in price because not many people put them away and not many people sell them either. If you look at eBay in 4 years time, 5 years time, I think maximum you're going to see 6 or 7 base sets available for sale, and that's like maximum. As the years go on, you get less and less available for sale, and the buy it nows get more and more crazy. You might have like 6 for sale, but one will be like at market, one will be like 20% over market, and then the other 5 will be like $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, like stupid prices and stuff like that. I know from experience. I've sold base sets in the past. I've been hanging on to Sun and Moon base set for 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, watching it crank up in price. That was a set that was printed into the ground as well. There were no major chase cards, and it was just crazy to see it go up in price. I expect to see Scarlet and Violet do the same. It is definitely a play, but with base sets, it is very much a long term play, like 5 years plus. And I'm not joking, but 5 years goes by quick in this hobby, and we're going to talk about that a little bit at the end of this video. But yeah, it's gone up in price. It's up 13% over the last 3 months. Nothing amazing, but yeah, just slow burner, just chugging away, up 77%. And look at this, just gain on gain on gain on gain from way below retail here. $115 6 months ago. Let's look at a year ago. Yeah, look at this. Sub $100 a year ago, right up until it hit $100 in October last year. That's kind of nuts. So where are we now? We're in May now. So what's that? 5, 6, 7. In 7 months, it's gone from way below retail, way below retail, to way over $200 a box, $210 a box. So you see how crazy it is now that you're getting some sets for like $200 when base is at like $210. It just kind of shows, like Surgeon and stuff like that. What was Surgeon at again? Let's go through. Surgeon is at $235. So it's like, yeah, Surgeon is probably going to get more reprints, but for $235, that's not bad when you look at base, and base is like $210. Sometimes you just got to zoom out and look at the bigger perspective in things. Oh my god, did you see how I just jumped to the right tab? I didn't even mean to. Look how many tabs I've got. Look, and I just jumped to the right one. That is madness. That is a sign. Evolving Skies. Let's talk about the big boy, the big king. This chart is crazy. This chart is, it's showing, it's accurate in the fact that it's going up steeply, but it's just so wrong because it's going off of average prices. So look, like average price last week was 1680. Average price now is 1772, but we know that they're pretty much selling for like 2k. So we're going to ignore this chart today for Evolving Skies, and we're just going to look at last sold. Last sold 1968. Really positive to see more sales around about that 2k mark. 2k is a huge psychological barrier for it to break through, but if any set's going to do it, it's going to be Evolving Skies. We called from way back last year to the start of this year and continuing going forward that we're going to see a 2k Evolving Skies booster box by Christmas time this year, probably sooner, and we're seeing it now at the end of May, month 5, guys, of the year. So where are we going to be at Christmas time? Who knows? But if it carries on at this rate, potentially 3k plus at Christmas time. I think that might be a bit of a stretch, but like I said, Evolving Skies, it's impossible to predict just because it is the #1 goated set. It has the most hype behind it. It's just insane. It really is. It's as safe as houses, or at least as safe as houses can be, because I mean, if you're chucking in £2,000 on a booster box that retailed for like 160, 150, something around there, like, you're taking a massive risk. I need to stress how much of a risk that is. You're paying so far over retail, but Evolving Skies just continues to chug along. And like I said, something is worth what people are going to pay for it. As time goes on, there's less and less available for multiple reasons. A, they get opened, which is madness. When I sold some Evolving Skies, was it earlier this year, end of last year? I can't even remember when it was. A little while ago, I was like sending photos to the person on eBay and being like, yeah, it's mint sealed, blah de blah. Oh, there's this little blemish here on the Pokeball which is rubbed off a little bit. Giving them like real like detailed pictures just to make sure they were super happy and to understand what they were buying, assuming that they were going to keep it sealed. They came back to me, oh yeah, great, blah de blah, can't wait for it to arrive. Me and the partner are going to rip it open. I was like, what? That just blew my mind. It's like, okay, you're going to spend that much on a box and rip it open, but people do. People spend 2k to open Evolving Skies, especially with rip and ship culture. So you have people ripping them, you have more getting damaged all the time as well. You get ones, and the big thing as well, you get ones getting locked away in collections. So you get people that are buying them now for 2k, taking them off the market, and you're not going to see them on the market again because that person's going to hold them for 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, 11 years. And I tell you what, if they hold that and then they drop it on the market in 10 years, potentially there's none on the market in 10 years. So when these things do come up and pop into the market, this is a very real scenario that we need to start thinking about, okay? What is the landscape of some of these sealed boxes now going to look like in 10 years time, 15 years, 20 years time? Okay, say eBay's still running and eBay's still the main thing that we use. It probably won't be. We'll probably use an alternative by then. But say in 20 years time, are there going to be Evolving Skies available on a buy it now? Probably not. What's more likely going to happen is someone's going to put it up in 20 years time and everyone's got stock notifications on. As soon as that hits the market, everyone's fighting for it. You have people all around the world fighting to bid on that. Prices go insane. Okay, so what my point was, I went on a bit of a tangent there. What my point is that all the time these are getting taken off of the market, especially Evolving Skies. So more and more, there's less and less available on the market as people start locking them up, putting them into their collections for the long haul. or they're just opening them, or they're just damaging them, or they're getting lost in the post, or whatever. Less and less supply every day. Evolving Skies is going mad. Everyone knows it's the GOAT set. Last sold in the US, 1800. Another one for 1835. These are on auctions as well. That's a little bit cheaper than what I would expect to see, but 1800 is still pretty close to that all-time high, pretty close to the highest we've ever seen it sell for. I don't know what the highest we ever saw it sold for was. Was it like 1900, something like that, 1950? Maybe that was on TCG Player, actually. TCG here is like 1968. That may actually be the highest, if not very close to the highest. But look, if we scroll through, look, here's two that, oh, that's the highest there. So from the 12th of this month, we saw two go for 1 cent off of 2k. So basically a 2k box. So you get a little bit of discount if you get it on eBay and you snipe an auction. Two selling for 1800 is really strong. That just cements it that is now the basement market price for them. In the UK, again, a little bit of a reduction in price, maybe 1790. That's around about the all-time high that we've seen it go for, maybe a little bit less, but I'm happy to see it. I'm happy to see it sell and have another confirmation, another data point in the market that is the price. Okay, I'm a data analyst by trade, and what a lot of people won't realize is that, oh, it's called a data scientist if you're in the US as well, sorry. What a lot of people don't realize, and this is how a lot of businesses operate as well when they're looking at trends and pricing, is they look for 7 data points in a row, not 6. If there's 6 data points in a positive trend and then 1 drops down, that's not a trend. Officially, it takes 7 data points for it to become a new trend. The more we see these sell for 1790, if we saw 7 of these sell over the next 6 months, or the next 6 weeks, or the next 6 years for 1790, as long as you've got them in a row, if you see 7 of them go for that price, that is the new price. And that's how all businesses do their financial forecasting. I don't know why it's 7, but that's just the industry standard. And if you see 1 sell for below that, so 1 go for 1600 or 1500, then that shows you haven't got a trend. Okay, so it's very positive to see more sales like this and more sales like this. Look, 2 sales in a row over 1800. That's the building of a trend. Let's see if we can see more of them. Let's just see. See 1755. So you've got 3 points. 3 points aren't over 1800, but you've got 3 points there over 1755. So it's more likely that the basement price is closer to 1755. Do you see what I mean? But if we start getting more sales at over 1800, then that's the price. Very interesting for those of you who are interested in that kind of thing. I am interested in that kind of thing. That's why I kind of built this channel, because I could transfer the skills that I use in my day-to-day job into this and give you a really good technical analysis on everything, and it's led me to be quite successful in doing this. Not the YouTube, I mean investing as a whole and buying product. Let's look at Fusion Strike then. Fusion Strike obviously had the massive leg up in price over the last few weeks. Last sold a week ago on the average was like $767. Actual last sold now is $798, which is kind of crazy. We saw some go for around about $810, $830, $850 last week. So we're seeing a little bit of price consolidation. We're seeing it drop down in price a little bit. The chart doesn't really show that because it's just averaging things out. And for once, the chart is actually giving us a better image of what's going on in the market than focusing on, oh no, Fusion Strike has dropped 5% or 6%. And it's like, yeah, technically, but when you zoom out on things, no, it hasn't. It's just consolidated a little bit after a massive run up in price, which is completely normal because these people that bought in below this run up in price just take profit. And that's why you see the little bit of dip come down. Last sold in the US, 750, but then there's also one here for 800. So we're seeing quite a range in price. These are both from yesterday as well. So how much of a swing is that? So 50 divided by 750. That's a 6% swing between two sales right there. Kind of crazy. Shows there's deals in the market. Fusion Strike for 800 just looks mad to me, to be honest. I mean, I know I've been saying for a long time that Fusion Strike is undervalued, but my brain just hasn't adjusted yet that $800 is the new price for Fusion Strike. That just looks expensive. I know it's not, and in the grand scheme of things, that is what it should have cost all along, especially when Evolving Skies is at like 2k a box. But it just looks mad seeing that because it's had such a quick run up in price. But that's how you do well in this hobby. You need to adjust to the new prices as quickly as possible. And I'm struggling with that. I'm struggling to see Fusion Strike at that price. I completely agree that it should be that price, and that is the new market price. But it looks weird to me, especially this in the UK. So £518. I was buying these for like $330, like less than 8 weeks ago. So that's why it's just hard for me to see it. But it is definitely worth that, and that is the new price. 500 plus. I don't think you're going to get them much cheaper than that. You might get some people dumping over the next week, and you might get one sub 500, you might get one 480, but that's going to be that, and then it's just going to keep bouncing up in price, in my opinion. I think Fusion Strike's going to have a very good year going forward. Let's have a look at Lost Origin then. So Lost Origin does look really undervalued to me, even though it had this big run up in price alongside Fusion Strike. It's at 529, but let's look at last sales, like 520 on eBay, $520. I'm sorry, but if Fusion Strike is selling for 800, there is no way Lost Origin should be 520. In my eyes, Lost Origin should be no more than 100 to 120, 130 bucks behind Fusion Strike at the most. So my price prediction for Lost Origin, if that's at 800, I think Lost Origin should be at like 680 now. And that's quite a difference in price. I'm putting my neck out there, I'm making my prediction there. I think that Lost Origin is massively underpriced at the moment, as it has been for a while. £400 here in the UK. I think that, again, that's underpriced too. That's from an auction as well. 406 all in with postage. I think it should be a £500 booster box. I really do. And then I think that, yeah, it should be close to $700, $680, $700 in the US. That's just my personal opinion on that one. Astral Radiance again had a big run up in price. Actually seen a bit of price consolidation this week. It was at 410 last week on the average. Now we're seeing some last sales 386, 386, 380. Just seeing a little bit of a discount. Like I said, some people dumping product. I think it's just cheap. Look at this, $350 for a nice minty box. It's out of print. Astral Radiance is a really good set. I really like it. I've been saying it's undervalued for a long time. Then we saw the run up in price. I still think it's undervalued. I think it should be closer to that $400, $500 range. And I think it will get there by the end of the year, probably a lot sooner. Last sold in the UK, 297. Basically like 305 including postage, 304, 302, something like that. Nice minty box as well. Again, it's at that point where Brilliant Stars and Silver Tempest had the trouble of breaking through that 300 mark. I think it's once it does break through 300, it's just going to have a quick run up to 400. Really do see that happening for Astral Radiance. So like we were saying, with Brilliant Stars and Tempora, we were calling it at around about this point when it was just hovering for a long time, for a couple of months here almost, at around about that 300 mark. We've seen it bounce around and bounce off the ceiling of 300. We said once we saw lots of data points, like we were talking about, more than 7 data points of it over 300, we're going to see a quick run up to 400. Obviously, we saw a big run on Sword and Shield, so we saw more than that. And yeah, the prediction just became even more true. And we saw that big run up in price to around about $433. at around about May 20th, which was what, just under 2 weeks ago. Now we're seeing a bit of a price consolidation. We're seeing 430, 413, 430, that kind of thing. Around about its all-time high. Its all-time high there is like 435. At most, it's consolidated just under 2%. I think that Brilliant Stars is going to continue to run, and I think that all of these sets, your Brilliant Stars, Astral Radiance, Silver Tempest, Lost Origin, Fusion Strike, Evolving Sky, I don't think they're going to stop. I think they're going to continue to climb up this year. If at most they might consolidate a bit and they might have a month or two of stagnant flat growth, or perhaps even a little bit of consolidation. They might drop 10%, 5%, that kind of thing, and then I think they're just going to keep going again, and it's going to be rinse and repeat. I think that these are really going to start moving away, these Sword and Shield boxes. I'm starting to think more and more now. I won't say by Christmas time, because it's really hard to gauge when the timing this will all happen will be, but I'm starting to come round to the idea now that within the next 12 months or so by summer next year, possibly even sooner if we see a big run up on these, that all of these main Sword and Shield sets, the ones I've just named, will all be $1,000 plus. So we're going to see $1,000 silver, $1,000 brilliant, $1,000 astral. I think we're going to see that happen. I think Lost Origin is going to overtake way over that. You're going to be 1,400, 1,500, and you're going to see Fusion closer to the 2K mark, around about that. And who knows where Evolving Skies will be at that point, probably knocking on the door of 3K. I'm really starting to see now how a lot of money could move back into Sword and Shield, and these boxes are just going to get rarer and rarer for all the reasons I've said before. They're getting opened, they're getting damaged, people are putting them away, and they're not going to be putting them on the market until we see those 1K prices. I'm starting to think that more and more now going forward. It could start getting to the point where it's not worth picking up Scarlet and Violet early sets anymore, and you're actually better off spending the premium and stacking up on more Sword and Shield again. We might see a massive shift in the market where Sword and Shield just starts pumping again like it has been. Like, that could just be the start. The big run-ups on Fusion and Lost and Silver and Brilliant, we saw it across all of those main key sets. We could see more of that action going forward over the next year, and I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. I'm not saying that's gonna happen. I'm not saying we're gonna see $1,000 box in the next 12 months for Silver and Brilliant Stars, but I'm starting to accept that that's a possibility. And we just need to see more data. We just need to see how it behaves more going forward. Last sold in the UK is 311 for Silver. Brilliant Stars, sorry. Silver Tempest, again, bit of price consolidation after a big run up in price. Look, it's still up 35% over the last 3 months, and that's from way over retail. Anyway, last 6 months, it's up nearly 100%. We could see more of this. We could see more of these big spikes coming up. I could definitely see it happening going forward. I don't know how certain I am that that will happen, but it's definitely a possibility that it could happen. Last sold's 350 on TCG. Its all-time high average 358. Nothing to be worried about. Some average price consolidation there. Crown Zenith, one of those sets that I've always said is just such a safe set to buy into. Still seems really cheap to me. It's a brilliant set. It's a fan favourite set. It's great to open. There's lots of good chase cards. There's a lot of like appeal in opening it as well. You get a lot of hits in it, and it's just creeping up in price. Look, just continually. Last 3 months, 30%. It's not making those big volatile jumps that are scary. It's just gradually grinding week on week on week. It's chilling at its all-time high. Last week it was averaging 157. Last sold, look at this, 170. Again, it just continues. You're like, oh yeah, $13. Yeah, but it's doing this every week. Every week it's up $5, $10, $13, $10, $15. It's just compounding over. Love Crown Zenith. I think it's a great long-term investment, and I think it's one of the safest investments out there personally. Last sold in the US, 155. There's another one here for 150, 150. I find it so funny because not that long ago, I'm talking about a couple of months ago when it started to move up in price, people were complaining. I saw US based Pokemon YouTubers saying that Crown Zenith is done for them. They will never buy it because they refuse to pay over $100 for it. It should never be worth more than $100. It's one of the heaviest printed ETBs of all time. Why would I ever pay $100 for it? It was sat around on shelves for way below $100 for ages. I can't accept a price point of $100. Blah, 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 blah. Rinse and repeat. Okay. At that time, we were telling people buy in, buy in, buy in. It's going to keep creeping. Look at the data. It's going up 2%, 5%, 2%, 5%, week on week on week on week. Now it's just averagely selling for 155, 150. People wouldn't dream of paying 150 for this a couple of months ago. And now it's just the accepted. Look, 3 sales in a row, 150. Can we actually see 7 sales? No, we can't. Because there's 138, 140, 150, 150. You need 7 sales in a row. So let's just see what the lowest price point on 7 sales in a row is actually. Oh, actually, there's been more sales since. So there's one going for 160. That's the highest I've seen it sell for. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, the cheapest out of those 7 is 138. So the basement price now is 138. That is literally how most of the retail world does things. So 138 is the absolute steal price. So if you see anything now for 138, Crown Zenith, Elite Trainer Box, that's an instant buy. You're buying at the bottom of the market. And then top of the market right now is 160, which is really positive that that was the last sold as well. Really just creeping up there in price. My voice is starting to go again. If you haven't realised, right, I don't cut these. I've literally just talked this entire episode. No drink, no break, no nothing. I just do it. There's no script. I'm just loading up some tabs on what I plan to talk about, and that's it. We're just going and going. I really need a drink of water, but we're going to finish this. The only time you ever see cuts in the video is if I need to sneeze or I need to cough, because I will not subject you guys to that. But I just love this kind of like podcast style of making videos. I just love sitting here, and we can just have the time to relax and get in deep into this analysis. And I know some of you guys really like that as well. I mean, if you got to this point in the video, you're definitely one of those people who like that kind of thing. Let's have a look then. Last sold in the UK, 146. I still really want this. I still want the Elite Trainer Box Plus, and it just keeps going up in price, and I keep saying it as a collector's piece rather than an investment piece, and I just won't pull the trigger on it because I can't justify spending $265 on it now. It's just out of my price range for getting that. So it's a bit sad really. I should have pulled the trigger on it a long time ago, but there we go. Maybe I'll get one in the future when it's like 1k, and then I'll kick myself for getting it, but I don't know. Maybe I'll just have to let that one go. We can't have it all. Let's talk about Chilling Reign then. I don't always talk about Chilling Reign just because I don't know why I don't talk about Chilling Reign all the time. It's a great set. Came out in difficult times. They were definitely struggling to print a lot of Chilling Reign when it first came out due to the global conditions that were going on, which we won't name, but we all know about. Print quality was horrendous on a lot of the early batches of Chilling Reign as well. And we're really starting to see it run up in price and mature in price at the moment. 430, 450, that kind of price range, up 35% in the last 3 months. Be careful buying into Chilling Reign right now. Chilling Reign is one of those sets that I really like it and it does really well, but it's one of those sets that in the community it has mixed feelings. I think everyone accepts that Chilling Reign should be charged a premium for because it's a good set. However, it's one of those sets that people turn their back on it quickly. Like I said, if the market drops, people focus on what they know is hot. And Chilling Reign, although it's hot, and a lot of you people watching know it's hot as well, we are a niche part of the hobby, okay? We are a very, very, very small percentage of the hobby. And I don't want to say we know better than the rest of the hobby, but we know Chilling Reign is a good set, okay? But a lot of the hobby doesn't. Okay, they do now, which is why you're seeing prices run up. But I'm telling you, a lot of people will be quick to turn their back on Chilling Reign. Just be cautious of it. It's a very volatile set. I don't think you're going to see it drop down massively in price. However, I can see it stagnating. If market conditions change, there is a possibility that it could sit for 6 months, 8 months, 10 months without much price action. And then yes, over time, over the long haul, over the years, it will continue to rise. I'm quite confident in that. Just be careful with Chilling Reign. My favourite part of the episode now is when we talk about something a little bit different. And we usually talk about something that's like a different niche product or something like that. And you're saying, PokePond, why have you pulled up a Celebrations Elite Trainer box? That's not a weird thing to pull up. And it is a weird thing to pull up. And I'll explain why. Because Celebrations Elite Trainer box, it seems like yesterday these things came out. Okay, I've got one on the shelf up there, very top left, top right to where you're looking. It's interesting because it's the 25th anniversary set, and like I said, it seems like it wasn't that long ago that it was out. However, next year is the 5-year anniversary of Celebrations coming out. It is the 30th anniversary of Pokemon, and it's also going to be the 10-year anniversary of Evolutions, which is when I started getting into investing in sealed products. So I'm coming right up to my 10-year anniversary of buying sealed booster boxes, which is really interesting. But what's mad, right, is when you think about Celebrations, this Elite Trainer box specifically, came out in October 2021. Now, if you ask me off the top of my head, what year did Celebrations come out? I wouldn't have said 2021. When you say 2021, it seems like a long time ago. But when you think about Celebrations, you don't think that it's been out for that long. Like I said, October of next year. So in, let's see, 17 months from now, it's going to be 5 years old, Celebrations. That's nuts. And it is creeping up in price. It is a creeper. And one of the plays that people are expecting, and I think why people are buying into it now and we're seeing more upward pressure, is they're thinking because it's going to be the 30th anniversary set, they think that's going to influence Celebrations and it's going to go up in value more. I think that that's a good shout and it is a decent play, but if I were to invest in Celebrations, it's definitely a collection piece at this point. Yes, it will do okay from an investment point of view, and it will continue to slowly grind up in price. So like last 3 months, it's up 20%. Last 6 months, steady grind, it's up 50% in the last 6 months. In the last year, it's up 90%. Not bad returns for a fan favourite set. They're not going to make any more of it. Although, what if they did? Oh God, I'm just thinking about that now. What if the 30th anniversary set was just a full reprint of Celebrations with a 30 on the box instead of a 25? The market would go insane over that news. Oh gosh, I hope they're not listening to me. Please don't do that. If I don't think about it, it won't happen. Anyway, I don't think that will happen. I just think that it's crazy that Celebrations is coming up to that old. And it's a real important thing for us that have been in the hobby a little bit longer to look back and recognise. I was talking earlier about holding sets for 5 years and about how quickly that time will go past without you realising it. Celebrations is going to be at that 5-year point soon, and it doesn't seem like I've had that box for 5 years. Do you know what I mean? What my point is that I'm trying to say in a roundabout way is time moves very, very fast. Zoom out, look at the bigger picture, and you'll do fine. I just want to say a quick shout out. Let me pull it up on my phone because I can't remember their names off the top of my head, and I have to do this. I have to shout out the people that have joined to the YouTube channel because it is a massive help for me. I basically do a membership pack. At the highest level, I will connect to you on Instagram. You can ask me unlimited questions. I will respond to your DMs day and night as quickly as I can. and I will teach you everything that I know. You just need to ask me the right questions. And some people have got a lot out of that, especially people who are spending a lot of money or they're not sure what to do with their portfolio next, that kind of thing. So, and you also get a shout out too. So shout outs to John H, Javier Forces, Grand Panda, Philip H, Sam J, Adam F, and Nathan A, who are all part of the Join program. You're all helping to support me as well. I hope that my guidance over Instagram messages is helping you guys and helping you guys hopefully make more money, but at least lose less money at the very least. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you all, and peace.